What's up, Internet? You're tuned in to episode 3 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where two best friends from different nations come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friend, Mr. Stephen Radford.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Steve. Welcome back. I am, I gotta say, I'm excited to jump in. We've got a pretty juicy main topic. We got lots of questions from the listeners this week, lots of comments. But before that, we've got some brand new games to talk about. We've got a bunch of stuff to get into. So I'm excited. This is going to be a meaty one, I think. But before we do that, let me just hop into some housekeeping for you here. I want to start off by telling you that this episode of the FlipScreen Games Podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of August. Of course, that is Christopher Valenz, a.k.a. That Doc Guy, Zaid Ida, and Wakahula. Thank you so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. Remember, if you head over to their Patreon, that's what I was trying to say. That is the best way to show your support for what we're doing here at FlipScreen Games. And for just $2, you can get access to One More Thing, our exclusive show over on the Patreon, where we keep the mics rolling and we talk about kind of what's going on in our lives, what's going on outside the world of gaming. This week, we talked about the crazy weekend I had, driving 6 hours round trip to go to a show, hitting up a baseball game the next day, going to a wedding the following day, and then being sick on Monday. So if you want to check that out, it was a good episode. We had a really, really good time on that one, and it is well worth your $2, I think. And helps us do, bigger and better things here at FlipScreen Games. If you don't have that $2 to toss our way, no big deal. You can head over to flipscreen.games, our website, where we have links to every one of our platforms where you can get all of our free content, which is every other thing that we do, including our Twitch streams, which are back on Thursdays, and some extra days. We had our first ever stream on the 11th, I think it was. I don't know. Like 2 weeks ago now. Yeah. Time's meaningless. But we had our first stream a while back where we played Pokémon UNITE with our friends Sierra Plus Ultra and AJ from Fanatics 4, as well as Chewy from Nintendo Noise. It was a great time. Steve just did a solo stream that following weekend of the Diablo II Resurrected beta, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And on this week, or I guess this past week, we just did the Master Chief Collection again with some of you fine folks in the audience, Doc and Zaid. Both of our Patreon producers, or two of them, I should say. So yeah, go check that out. If you haven't, the VOD should still be available. For this next week, we don't have a game decided yet, so we'll probably be putting up another listener poll, which happened over on our Patreon. That was how Master Chief Collection got voted on for this past week. So if you want to go and cast your vote, head over to Patreon and get us at the, I believe that's at the $5 level is where you'll get access to those votes. So go check that out. And, maybe we play some Quake. It's hot. Yeah, it's brand new right now.
That was a surprise, right?
Yeah, maybe that's the game. I personally probably gonna lobby for some more Pokemon Unite. So you're gonna want to go weigh in. Otherwise, we're gonna just stream Pokemon Unite every week. So then, of course, you can get us all over, the web, FlipScreen Games. We're on Twitter. Come join our Discord. You can write into the show for our MailPod segment, just like a bunch of folks did this week. You can hit us up on the Discord, or you can email your questions to questions@flipscreen.games. So yeah, please write into the show. We love to hear from you, and we love to make your thoughts part of the show.
I want to ask you what a MailPod is. I've not heard of that. Is that?
Did I say the MailPod segment?
Block? You did.
No, I didn't. Oh, the question block segment. Excuse me. If you're a new listener, you won't catch that holdover. But excuse me. That is an old segment from an old podcast now. If you do a couple hundred of them and it gets stuck in your craw, right? Anyway,
it does. I was typing out the Twitch URL earlier for the promo, and I typed a different one. It's just ingrained.
Yeah, that'll happen. So for the question block segment where we read questions from you fine folks. So yeah, please write in. We love hearing from you. And I've already got a bunch for Nintendo Noise this week. So keep them coming.
Something happened in the world of Nintendo. I'm not sure what it was, so you just have to tune in on Wednesday.
Yeah, some Digimon thing? I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. It should be good.
Something about some digital monsters.
Some AJ guy is going to come on the show for the first time ever. First ever time we've ever collaborated with him. Never heard of him before. AJ from Fantastic Four or something like that. I don't know, but it should be good. Anyway, that's enough shilling for now. Let's jump into what we're playing this week. I'm not going to bury the lead on this one. Steve, you played the Diablo 2 Resurrected early access beta. Diablo 2, notably one of your favorite games of all time. Diablo 2 Resurrected, notably made by the artists formerly known as Vicarious Visions, best known for their work on the Crash remasters and Crash 4 and Crash Team Racing, all that stuff. So, I feel like I have an idea of what your early impressions are on it, but why don't you tell me how is this rubbing you right now? Is the game is it living up to your memories of Diablo 2? Is it doing a good job kind of recapturing the magic of that game for you? Where are you at with it right now?
Yeah, so I went in I didn't even realize the early access weekend was happening, and I happened to open Twitch bang on 6 p.m. when it opened and saw someone streaming it. So I was like, I'm pre-ordering this game right now, and I got access to the early access. And wow, I'm so happy and so impressed with the work they've done on it. It's incredible. It's everything I could have possibly wanted. I went in with some reservations, and I was even checking to see if it supported keyboard and mouse, because that's how I've always played Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. There was a PS1 port of Diablo, which wasn't great because they didn't really have great controller support, and I was really concerned how it would work with the controller on this game, because if you've ever played Diablo or Diablo 2, a huge part of that game is inventory management, potion management, making sure that you're on top of things. I was playing this on Series X, yeah.
Okay.
There's no way my Mac is going to run Diablo 2 Resurrected. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, I was playing this on Xbox. And yeah, the controller support is great. It works exactly as you would expect. You can map all of the skills that you have that would traditionally be on your F function keys. They can be mapped to any button on the controller. And they're, apart from the D-pad is your belt. It's the belt of potions, which automatically tops up as you use the potions. It will bring one in automatically from your inventory, so it's quite nice in that regard. And if you hold down the left trigger, that gives you a second row of your skills. So you've basically got all of the face buttons, the right trigger and the right bumper and the left bumper. And if you hold down the left trigger, you've then got all of that again. So you've got quite a lot you can map to, which when you're playing, I'm playing as a paladin, is super important, because a paladin has auras. So depending on where you are and where your party is at any time, if you're fighting, say, a monster that is shooting out lightning, you might want to put your lightning resistant aura on. Or if there's someone that's shooting fire, you want to put the fire resistant aura on, and you want to be able to quickly switch between those as you move from monster to monster to make sure your party is protected. So it's very important that you have access to those skills easily, which is why I thought it would work better with a keyboard. But I actually find myself preferring it with a controller.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people, if you play this on PC, will want that. Because rather than like the original game where you only moved in 8 directions, this is just like full 360 motion. It's done in a new engine. You can tell it feels a lot more like Diablo 3 in that regard, that you're moving around. So I was really, really pleasantly surprised with. As for some of the gameplay changes, there's not really been a lot. The inventory is still the same, which I think people want. The systems are still the same. All of the items still look the same and function the same. There's a few minor quality of life improvements, like when you go to Geed in the village. You can do gambles with Geed, and you used to have to
gambles with Geed camp every Friday night.
Yeah, yeah. You used to have to leave the camp and then come back to get it to refresh and get you like a new selection of items that you could gamble on. Now you just hold down the left stick and it will automatically refresh that, and you can just keep refreshing until you find something you want to do a gamble on and then get it, which is nice. And there's a few other small minor improvements like that you'll appreciate if you're someone who's played Diablo 2 before. If you're a new player, you probably won't notice. I actually think if you come from Diablo 3, you're probably going to be a little bit shocked because Diablo 3 had so many changes to the gameplay. The inventory wasn't limited in Diablo 3, really. I mean, it was limited by your strength, but it wasn't like certain items take up physical space like they do. I mean, this very much is, if you've not played Diablo, I guess it's very similar to how Resident Evil shows its inventory. You've got like the attaché case style layout where you have to fit things in, and if you can't fit them in the inventory, you can't carry them. You have time portals, which you don't get, which you automatically get in Diablo 3. You can just spawn a time portal anytime you want. In this one, you need scrolls, and you've got to carry those scrolls around with you in your inventory, so you have to keep an eye on those as well. So a lot of these things, if you came from Diablo 3, you won't be expecting, but I still think it's 100% worth picking the game up anyway. And then some of the beta stuff really kind of was a bit of a shame how it worked. So you couldn't play this game offline. It was multiplayer, online multiplayer only, which was fine because you could spawn into your own like version of the game. I guess playing on your own, a private online session. But if you left the game and then come back, quick resume works on the game, but it would kick you back out to the menu. But that, I would imagine when you get the game, you can play it offline. However, the biggest issue was on Xbox. Friend invites didn't work until the Monday, which was the final day that this beta was available for people to play. So all weekend, you could either play on your own or can play with complete strangers, but you could not play with friends who had bought the game. Now, my brother bought the game, having watched me stream it on Twitch. He joined the stream, and everyone was like, "Oh, hi." It was a bit weird, but he picked it up.
Wait, was he on mic?
We found out. No, he wasn't on mic.
Oh, okay. I was like, "Oh, that's crazy. I missed that."
He will want to. He might this weekend because there's the open beta. I'll see if I can rope him in to do it. But yeah, it was really disappointing that we'd both pre-ordered the game, we both downloaded the early access, but the friend invites didn't work. But we do have another weekend that we can try that, which will be the weekend just gone. If you're listening to this on the Monday it releases. But overall, I couldn't be happier with this game. I was kind of on the fence as to which console I wanted to get it on. Did I want to get it on Xbox? Did I want to get it on Switch? And I ultimately decided to go for Xbox, and I think that was the right decision because this game just looks gorgeous. And you've got the 60 frames per second mode on there, which I think on Switch is probably going to be limited to 30. And it's so fluid. It's so nice. It's fantastic.
It looks pretty good.
I've got good time with it.
I've got some of IGN's got 11 minutes of Druid gameplay that they posted late last week that I've got playing right now for you YouTube viewers. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I've made it to Act 2. We were about to finish Act 2, and then I had to go to bed. It was like 3:00 in the morning on Sunday.
I mean, that's a good place to be. That it's keeping you up that late.
And then the next day, my brother was working all day, and I was working all day because it was the Monday, and the beta closed on like 6 p.m. at 6 p.m. UK time, and he messaged me at like 7. And it was too late. We just couldn't play anymore. So we're looking forward to playing it this weekend. We're trying to get my sister to buy it and play it on her husband's Xbox, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So is this weekend the beta
either, which is
again?
Disappointing. The weekend just gone, as this episode goes out. So I will have probably streamed it again this weekend.
Okay. And then when does it actually come out?
September. So it's not that long to wait. I think it's September 13th, something like that.
Can we orchestrate some kind of stream where it's you, your brother, your sister, and your dad playing? Because that would be awesome. And I'll just work the chat.
Dad, I think we could do that. My dad texted me while I was out for dinner. Let me find the message because he texted me and I was really caught off guard about it.
It's another classic dad joke.
No, it wasn't even a dad joke. It was a question about Diablo. It was, he said, "Am I right that Diablo 2 doesn't have couch co-op mode?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Oh." And I said, "Did you want to play couch co-op on this game?" He said, "Yeah, with mom."
Your mom was going to get into it?
He said, "Yep, that was the plan." My mom was addicted to Diablo 1 and 2.
Really?
It was her game. Like, she played it on PC. She was so good at it. She like defeated the Butcher in and Diablo in Diablo 1 so many times. We would, as kids, go onto her save, and we would like use her items because she was like fucking badass at it and had all the best gear.
That's
And so
cool.
we felt like heroes when we were killing stuff because it was like one hit kill. But yeah, mum doesn't really play PC games anymore. She's more of a casual on the iPad style thing.
So your mom's
So
two
I think she
games.
might get in.
Her two games are
She
Mario
might get
Party
into
and
Diablo
Diablo.
Eternal. Yeah, she loves both of those. But I think she might get into Diablo Eternal when that comes out on mobile. I think that will probably end up being her game.
There you go. So how do you feel like it's doing in terms of like you talked a lot about how like most of the changes are like more quality of life things. So do you feel like it's doing a good job of kind of like what I expressed about Vicarious Visions and what they had done with like Tony Hawk and like Crash, where it's like, do you feel like it's really tapping into how you remember the game being? Is it hitting those nostalgic notes, or does it feel like it's very much like taking an old game and like modernizing it?
Yeah, this feels like the same game, but with nicer graphics and a controller support.
And bells and
that's all
whistles.
I really wanted. Yeah, and some bells and whistles, like it runs in 4K. It's totally 3D now. It's not, isometric 2D assets like it was before. But everything looks the same. The art is so faithful to the original game. And the gameplay is identical. They've actually remastered all of the cutscenes frame by frame and up-res them from their original like 800 by 600 pixel resolution
Wow.
to full 4K, and they look phenomenal. They look really, really good.
Yo.
And I used to skip some of those cutscenes because I was just like, oh my god, like this looks terrible because it really did look bad. But now they're just, it's a Blizzard level cinematic in a modern Blizzard game on Diablo 2, and it's exactly what people want.
So I've got the Druid gameplay up, and I want to play as a Druid if I play this game because they're turned into a werewolf, they're turned into a bear. It's crazy.
They've added 2 new classes which weren't available in the open beta. So I can't remember what they are, but there were 2 grayed out, and it wouldn't let you select them.
I think
so
Druid
whenever
was
this
one of
drops,
them because it says here of one of the new beta classes.
yeah.
And this was on the
so
15th.
they weren't available in this early access beta. I don't know if they will be in the open beta, but I will be trying one of those new classes when they come out. But I can't remember what the other one is. It might be Demon Hunter.
Are these
I know
new
they brought that
classes
to
to the
Diablo 3.
game, or are they just new classes that hadn't been in the beta?
They're new classes to Diablo 2.
That's
they
cool.
weren't in Diablo 2 originally. So they've either backported them from Diablo 3 or brought them over from the original game. I'm not sure where they came from. But I know there are 2 brand new classes in the Resurrected beta, which means it's got all new skills and all new skill tree, totally different way of playing. And I'm interested to see how that's going to work in some of the ranked stuff. Because like the laddering league tables are still back. Everyone's going to be playing seasonally to try and be number 1 on that table again and get the best items and all of that stuff that people did. It's never anything that really interests me. I like just playing this game and not getting into.
You're not going to be the number 1 Diablo 2 player?
No, it's never going to happen. I don't have the patience to spin for loot constantly.
All right.
That's all this game is. It's just find the best shit.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought this was your favorite game ever,
It's one of them. Yeah, it's definitely up there.
Okay.
I mean, it does this beat out another
Toy Story
Activision
2
game? Does this beat out Toy Story 2? It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Well, I'm glad you're having fun with it so far. It seems like it's everything you were hoping it would be. So I imagine we'll have some more thoughts on it next week after you've gotten to sink in some more time with the beta, and I'm sure it's a game we'll talk about quite a bit as it comes out. Because I'm sure you're going to be getting your mitts all over it. So we'll talk more about that one. I teased this on Nintendo Noise, but I got a chance to jump into the free DLC update that came to Mario Golf. That added Toadette and New Donk City. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. I feel like specifically New Donk City is like a really welcome addition to the game. I feel like I mean, for a couple reasons. Like, it's really cool in that, like, when you take a look at it, for like the first time anyway, like you can start the hole like at any hole at any time, and it'll give you a different like course layout basically based on which hole you pick, and then also what order. Like you can like randomize, so it's like you could have like hole 18, hole 9, hole 7, and like it really breaks things up quite a bit. And also just the layout of the city, like there are barely any long greens. Like almost every, actual hole is pretty short. So it's kind of more like mini golf. Like it has a way different flow than the other maps. So like I played, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours on it. And like I played like a bunch of different match lengths and stuff. And I was impressed by how fast it goes. Like even a full 18 holes goes maybe half or less the amount of time it would take to get through a regular green. Even on like regular, golf. Obviously speed golf is always going to be a little quicker. But yeah, I don't know. Like it really adds a different dynamic to the game between the flow of the maps, the size, and like just all of the different kinds of trappings, that come along with it. Like in terms of there's like all these different things you can interact with. Like I realized that like there's a strategy in some parts of the hole to like overshooting and like not trying to get on the green. So you hit a building and it bounces back and then lands on the green. There will be like there's this one hole where there's like an umbrella like sitting over like a little table and chairs like at a cafe, and if you hit it on top of the umbrella, it'll bounce off of it and and kind of do a special thing. So there's like lots of little intricacies, and you can see I've got it up on screen on the YouTube version. How some of it works. Like the hole that they're at right now is a perfect example of one where it's really easy to to bounce it off of other walls and stuff like that. But I also found myself like sometimes being right off the green, but like almost every one of the planes is like totally flat. So like I would often pull out my putter and putt even if I was farther from the green, because I'm like, if I use an actual driver, I'm gonna overshoot this hole. And I did several times. And I got in the habit of like your first shot, use like the 32 or the 74 yard club. And then after that, just putt because you're going to have a better time. But I really dig it. I feel like it's a great addition. And like, if they have plans to continue adding, new levels, new characters, I don't really feel like we need a lot more characters. Like the roster's already pretty good, but like, I would definitely welcome more holes that are similar in scope and execution to like what we got with New Donk City, because I feel like it adds a really welcome dynamic to the game.
You think it'll be more from Mario Odyssey? Like maybe we bring in that like Candyland or the Moon or something like that? Or do you think it'll be from other Mario games? Or maybe they go down the route of, say, Mario Kart, and it's not just restricted to Mario games. Maybe we get an Animal Crossing course and the villager comes in as one of the playable characters.
I mean, I would definitely welcome that. I feel like that's an underutilized thing in non-Smash games. Like when they did that in Mario Kart, it was very much like, yeah, why isn't this a thing? Like, why don't you just put Link and the Animal Crossing villagers and the Squid Kids and, Donkey Kong, whoever else, in every game? And I don't feel like there's a good answer to why they don't do that. So I would love to see that. Do I think we will? No, I don't. Mario Kart's the only precedent for that, and like we haven't seen it in any of those other games. So I wouldn't hold my breath for it. But I would definitely welcome it. Like a Breath of the Wild map would be amazing.
That would be so cool. Like going around Ganon's castle or whatever.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Like that would blow my mind. But I could
maybe
see
you
them
have to hit those like yellow eyes and get rid of the what is that stuff called? The pink stuff.
They're like I forget, but it's like the darkness goop, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. And like imagine like when you're playing speed golf, like the Guardians wake up and like you got to hit the ball and run away before they try to kill you.
Yeah.
Like that would be so cool. So there's lots of things you could do with it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more stuff from Odyssey, but I would definitely love to see them kind of go a little bit deeper, and like do some, Like maybe some throwback
Flood in here.
courses, like some references to some older Mario games. That would be cool. But I think as long as
Galaxy
they're
would be quite cool.
what?
Galaxy would be quite cool if you had like all the loads of little different planets that you were shooting golf balls from and to, and if you missed one, it goes off a little bit into space, and you've got to try and catch it and stuff.
Yeah, ends up on like another like asteroid off on the side, and that's the rough. Like, yeah, any of those would be cool. And I think to me, that's just what I want to see is more like some more of these like bigger conceptual levels rather than just like here's a putting green. You know, it's like okay, like this feels like a Mario, a specific thing, and as long as they're adding new courses that have that level of like personality and for lack of a better term, like gimmicks that make it feel like Mario Golf rather than just any golf game, I think that's a positive. So I really dug this edition. It was nice to have an excuse to jump back in, and I hope we see more of them. Like I would definitely love to get some more additions to the game that that flesh things out in a similar way.
Did you play as my girl?
I did. Yeah.
Did you give her a go? How was Toadette?
She's good. She's not great for New Donk City because, like I said, I guess it depends on the hole, but a lot of the planes are very flat, and she has it's like Pauline's, or it's like it just kind of shoots forward. So like I had one level where I was like, oh, I'm gonna use her special, and like it just shot straight forward, and it hit like a barrier. Because we're in a city, so there's like random shit in the middle of the street and stuff, and I was like, okay, she's probably not best suited for this.
Pauline would know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you'd think Pauline would know that, being the mayor of New Donk City, but yeah, I guess she never learned.
No, not so much. She's doing that brute force thing. She's just smacking the hell out of that ball. It'll work on some holes, but not so great on others. I found on New Donk City, none of the characters seem to use their specials ever. And I think it's because a lot of them just don't work that well on New Donk City.
So is it just like fundamentally broken some of the mechanics of the game? Do you feel like this was a late entry? Because it does seem very different from any of the courses I've seen. Like all of the other ones, they seem to be just... I know it could be like Trump's golf course.
Except for like Bowser's Castle, and there's like the weather one. Like there are ones that have gimmicks, but this feels like the most stylized and the most gimmicky and the most different, So I wouldn't say that it necessarily breaks the fundamentals. I think it just like it makes, because the map is so different, the strategy is different. So things that work on the regular courses don't work the same way here. You wouldn't use the same driver necessarily because like there are a lot of parts of that course where you'll just completely overshoot the hole. So
I guess that's part of the strategy and learning which character, which club, which hole do I need to do this on, and that's all I guess part of playing that game.
And it keeps it fresh. Because like if you want something that's shorter or different or has a different rhythm than the regular matches, like New Donk City offers you like a nice alternative, kind of in the way that like we'll talk about it in a second here, but like with Pokemon UNITE, like I like that there's like the long matches and then there's like the short matches, and the short matches are not only shorter, there's 3 different game types. So like you get different kinds of maps, different kinds of objectives, different flow to the game.
You need to loop me in on those because we played the 10-minute rounds when we were streaming.
Yeah.
I haven't played since we streamed, so I don't know if these are new, if there's anything else, or like how do I access those, and what are the different game modes compared to the one we played?
Sure. So I played some more Pokemon UNITE this week. We got some updates about that that came in the Pokemon Presents that we'll be talking all about on Nintendo Noise on Wednesday with Chewy and AJ. So make sure you tune in for that. And we got some new characters coming, all that stuff. I just picked up Blissey, who just dropped. Where's my boy Blastoise? Getting a little frustrated, but that's fine. I like Blissey. I'm trying to get on that support grind. But the short matches, I think you unlock them. I don't think you get them right away. I think you need to hit like level 5 or something like that, or 6 or whatever, and then you unlock them.
Okay,
but they're 5 minutes instead of 10. And there's one game mode where it's instead of 5-on-5, it's 4-on-4, and it's basically the exact same map, just smaller. And like Zapdos is still in the middle, like all that stuff. It's basically the same thing. Then there's another one that is still 4-on-4, and it's there's a different boss Pokemon in the center. It's Avalugg, and he has like a different benefit. Like everybody gets these shields rather than the electric shock that Zapdos does. I think it still makes you able to score without blocking, but it's like a slightly different kind of thing. And like there's different mobs on the side. It's got like an ice theme. It just is like a slightly different play on that map with some different objectives. Oh, and I should point out both of them don't have like Rotom or Dreadnought. So there's only the center objective, not the top and bottom ones. And then there's another one that's 3-on-3. And rather than kind of having that regular flow of like you have your first tower, your second tower, and then the center one where like you can just score indefinitely, there are just 2 towers on either side of the map, and they don't belong to anybody. So anybody can score on them at any point. And then there's a multiplier applied. So like if you and I are on a team and I score, it'll then double whoever scores next. So say like you and I are playing together, maybe you're playing the support and I'm playing the attacker, and you have 1 point that you can score and I have 50, right? You could score your 1 point and then I'd score my 50 and we'd get 101 points instead. So like it becomes this very cool. Like it's like very King of the Hill, you know, where it's like, oh, we need to like all stay around these, and I need to play defense. I need to set up my other teammates to score more. Like there's a real strategy to like when you score and how you keep the other team from scoring. But, you know, can you maybe capitalize off of them scoring? Like all those kinds of things. So that's got a way different flow.
That, how do you communicate that with your team though? Because I never saw anywhere on screen when I was playing who had what points. And, you know, we were saying on Discord, like, oh, I've got 50 points, I need to score. I've got 30 points, I need to go and score them. Is there a way within the game that it shows you?
So if you're looking... Go ahead, sorry.
And I was like, so you basically, so you can say, oh, I've got 1 point, I'm going to go score this, and then you go do that. Because that was my issue when I spoke about it last week, was there's no way to really communicate with the wheel that they've got. It's very finite number of choices.
Yeah. So the way that it'll work is when you're playing, if you're on screen, like if you and I are on the screen together, you have a little number above your health bar with like a purple Pokeball, and it says the number of points you have. So I could see, okay, Steve has 30 points. I only have 10. I should score first because you'll double. So it's kind of like you got to play it by ear a little bit.
And I guess in the same way, if you've got more points than someone else, you want to be telling them to go and score. But is there a way to do that, or do you just have to assume that
you just got to hope that they're fucking paying attention?
Yeah.
Which doesn't always happen. But yeah, those are fun. I think we couldn't play them either because you were not a high enough level, or because it was only the 3v3 match. No, that's it. The highest number of players in the quick battles is 4. So when you're playing with 5 people,
we were
you
playing
just
with
can't.
5.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Although it would be cool if you brought 6 and you could just have like a room of 6 people, and it splits you into 3 versus 3.
They'll probably have that at some point.
Friends.
Yeah, like that's like a
I'd
thing.
I'd like that because they're gonna have to for when they do like ranked, and you've got to see there's gonna be like some esports league or something for this at some point where they're gonna need that feature. It's gonna be coming at some point.
Yeah, pretty much every other major MOBA has a custom games mode, so I would imagine that's probably a thing that'll come later on, where you'll be able to like set up private rooms, and you know, if you've got 10 people, you could set up a team of 5-on-5 or whatever, or you know, however you want to play that out.
I know we're going to talk about it on Nintendo Noise, but it's coming out on mobile in September.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be moving to mobile, or are you going to be picking it up on mobile as well?
No. I mean, I'll download it just to try it and like have impressions for the show and be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't play it here. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't see any reason to do that. I don't think that there will be any advantage provided to playing on mobile. If anything, it'll be more difficult. At least in my mind, right? Like I don't like playing games on a touchscreen. I'm more comfortable playing with controller. So that's how I'm going to keep playing. I think the thing I'm more concerned about is how is that going to impact like matchmaking? Because I know that there is going to be crossplay. So like Playing against people on mobile, cool. Playing with them on my team, not cool. Gonna hate that. So I'm a little nervous about that, I gotta say. I'm worried that, like, my biggest complaint with Pokemon Unite is that I don't think the matchmaking system is great. And not because, like, I shouldn't say maybe not the matchmaking. The lack of options for the matchmaking system is not great. Because, like, I am consistently frustrated by the fact that, you know, I'm trying to rank up. Like, I'm trying to get to expert. I'd like to get beyond expert. Like, I'm really trying to get better at the game. And it's really frustrating that I've now consistently weeks out. And, like, it started as kind of like a meme and I was joking about it. But now I'm actually at a point where I'm getting kind of legitimately annoyed by it, that I can't get past Great Rank 4. Like, every time I get to Expert 1, I get knocked down. And every time I'm at 4 about to rank up, I get matched with a bad team and lose. And, like, I'm not sitting here saying I'm the best fucking player at this game. I'm not. I make mistakes. I have bad matches. It's not never my fault that I rank down. But it is really frustrating how often the games where I lose and then lose my rank and don't get to rank up, I'm the MVP on my team. And I'm playing well. Yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And, you know, my team is not communicating. My team is not taking objectives. Like, I had a game last night. It was the last ranked game I played of the night because I got annoyed and I was like, I'm done playing. Like, my team's winning. And then Zapdos spawns. It's at the 2-minute mark. Their team goes and engages. Everybody on my team goes to contest it except one fucking person who's off up in the corner killing mobs and trying to score 5 points at a time. And lets the other team get Zapdos. And then instead of coming back and defending our fucking goalposts, they're like, I'm going to keep killing Audinos and scoring 5 points. Like, fuck you. Like, you literally threw the game because you're not looking at the minimap and you're not getting with your team and committing to team fights. Like, that's what you need to do late game. And the fact that you can't ping specific people, things like that, drives me crazy. Because I had that problem the other night too, where I was playing with somebody in my lane and they were 2-3 levels behind the other team and they just kept running into fights and dying every single time. So they were never, ever, ever where they needed to be because they were always dead or they were running into a fight as it was already over. And it's just like, I don't want to see the matchmaking get cluttered with players who are not only shit, but now who are playing on an inferior platform. Like, that's going to be tough.
You know, Pete, I'm in the mix there. I'm a shit player, I was the person that was running into fights at low level. But,
Yeah, and you know what?
People get there.
It's fine, but I'm just really getting tired of getting stuck with those players when I'm trying to rank up. Like, I get it.
Yeah, see, how does the rank system work? Because in say Splatoon, which is really the only thing I'm familiar with in this style of ranked battle game, if you're over a certain level, you won't get ranked down. It'll just put you at the back at the beginning of the existing rank. Is that how this works?
Basically, it has each rank has, I think, 4 diamonds. And it's once you get, like, your 5th win, you rank up. But there's also an experience bar, and you get, like, 10 or 15 points every game. And then if you win multiple games in a row, there's a multiplier, so you'll get double points or whatever. So if you're on a good tear, it's pretty easy to rank up fairly quickly. It's when you're solo queuing, and it's like, oh, I got a good team. We got this. We won. Oh, I got matched with a bad team. There goes my my streak. And there's a line like halfway through where if you get past that line and you lose a game, rather than rank down, it'll just knock you back down. You lose your experience points rather than your whole level.
Exactly like Splatoon's then.
Yeah.
It takes you down and then you get like 3 or 4 cracks you can get on the vial on Splatoon and then you go down.
It's a lot like that.
Level, so it's basically the same system.
Yeah, pretty similar to that. So, it's like, don't get me wrong. I still love the game. I'm having a good time with it. But, like, it is really frustrating that, like, I want to be able to just solo queue and get to a point where I'm at a high enough rank that the players I'm playing with are, like, more knowledgeable and are like, this is my role. I'm going to play it. And, like, not people oh, let's 3Q, or let's put 3 people in a lane. Like, oh, you called jungle? Yeah, I'm going to come in and steal your camps. Like, just people who don't know how to play. And it's like I'm really frustrated that I'm stuck in this, like, ELO hell playing with these people that do not want to communicate or play the game the right way. And the other night, I queued up with 4 people. I was playing with DJ, and I was playing with my friend AJ from the Gamerdelphia podcast, and another one of his friends. And you can't do ranked if you have 4 people. You can do it if you have 2, 3, or 5, but not 4. And I was like, that really sucks. Like, we have a good team. We were working together really well. And we won like 3 games in a row that weren't ranked. And I'm like, why is this the only, why are these the 2 extremes? When we ranked up with 5 people, it's like we were only playing against teams and they were really good. And it was like too hard. I'm like,
Was that stream just like the extreme level? It wasn't just me being really, really shit, was it? Like, they were hard matches when we were playing, right?
Yeah, definitely. So,
'cause I know I was a bad player, but that felt stupidly hard. We won one match out of the ones we played.
It definitely felt like we were playing against teams that were playing together regularly and had their strategies down, and like we just didn't, and I feel like I'm stuck in this purgatory of like I need regular squads to roll with so that I can rank up, but most of the time I'm playing by myself, and I don't know how to reconcile those 2 things. So, one day I'll get out of ELO hell. One day.
You just need to get Sarah in on it. Like, take it to the MOBA training camp, do like the Rocky montage and get it done.
I wish.
And then you 2 can go in. As
she'd be great at it. I bet she's so good at min-maxing things, but like, definitely not.
Yeah, she got way into Fire Emblem, didn't she?
Oh yeah. She's right now. She's doing
great at this.
She's doing her 9th playthrough of Breath of the Wild. She's playing through all the DLC on Master Mode, because she needs to find new and exciting ways to get her teeth kicked in. So I don't know. She's nuts. But and then other than that, I've just been playing more Mass Effect 3. Still chipping away at that. I just knocked out one of the big DLCs. That's like I don't know, it's like 6 or 8 hours or something like that, and it's like a big side quest. I was playing that for like the last couple days. And it was so funny because I was getting to the end of that DLC, and Sarah's like, "Oh, you're already at like the end of the game?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm like 10% into the entire game right now. This is just a long fucking chapter, and it's super dramatic."
Do I need to play that one? The DLC? Is this a side quest?
It's a side quest. It's worth playing. It's a cool, fun story, and like it like introduces you to a character that you only meet in that DLC, and like there's a supporting it's like a supporting minor character who is in Mass Effect 2 and 3, and like she is like kind of the main character of this DLC, and like you get to have her in your group and everything, and it's worth playing. It's fun. That's one of the good DLCs. Generally, the Mass Effect DLCs are pretty strong, I would say. But yeah, I'm like, I've got a lot left to do. Like, I've got so many fucking side quests. And like, Mass Effect 3, it's way more important to do the side quests. Because like, the whole narrative is about how it's like, the whole galaxy's at war. And like, you need to get as many resources together as you can. And as many allies as you can. And every side quest you do benefits you on, you have this big like preparedness bar, and like there's like a minimum you need to hit, and if you don't hit it by the end of the game, like you just die and then you lose, and like that's the end. So it's
lovely.
You definitely want to make sure that you're bolstering your army as much as you can. So yeah, I've definitely got quite a bit of time left with this game, which is great. I'm having a good time with it. I definitely don't want to walk away from it anytime soon. But in the same breath, Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut comes out tomorrow, as of this recording. So I think I might do what I did with Mass Effect 2 and maybe take like a break and like play the Island of Iki stuff and, then pop back in.
I
'Cause
just
I've
want to know because I've seen it online, and I want to know your first impressions of how the cat pairing feels through the controller. And I
very
want
important.
video evidence. It's super important. That's the only thing I care about is the cat pairing through DualSense. I just
I'm
wanna know.
excited. I'm excited to give it a shot. I've heard that you can get through the main campaign in like 3 to 4 hours, but then there's like a ton of like additional side quests and like stuff that fleshes out that island. So it seems like there's a pretty meaty bit of stuff. And I started that New Game Plus run a while back, so I think I might pick that back up, go do this side quest, and then like maybe refinish the game. We shall see. But I also definitely want to play Legends now that I'm back in. I'm like gonna get back into it. So
That's a free standalone thing as well now, so anyone can download that.
I'll have to hit up on my PS4. Got to hit up Doc. Got to get some Legends running. Maybe we'll stream it. All right, so let's jump into our main topic this week. We asked a question on Twitter, and we got a bunch of replies here, and I kind of want to use it as a jumping off point. So, this past week, CD Projekt Red had a little presentation on Cyberpunk 2077, and, obviously a game marred with controversy of its kind of rocky release. And one of the things, if you'll recall, when the game kind of came out and it got all that negative press, there was a conversation from CD Projekt Red where they're like, hey, like we have this roadmap of how we're going to fix the game and all these things that we're going to do to flesh it out, and we're also going to give you some free DLC, and then there'll be paid expansions to come later, right? So we got to look at what that free DLC is, and a lot of people were disappointed to see that it wasn't like anything really substantial. It wasn't like something that was really new content as much as it was like there was like a new vehicle, there's like some new clothes, there's like a new outfit for Johnny. Not anything to write home about, I think is fair to say. Not anything that's going to...
Especially the clothing. Like, it's the one thing in the game you never fucking see.
Yeah, the stuff for Johnny is like, okay, like you see him a lot.
I can understand, but it's an alternative outfit. That's quite cool. Would have been kind of a thing that you maybe give as like a pre-order bonus in a special edition or something. It's like, oh, here's a free alternative version. I don't know. Like, this question stemmed from me just being so underwhelmed with what they considered to be DLC. And I was like, I don't even consider that DLC. When I hear the words DLC in my head, that's not what comes to mind.
Yeah, so that was the question.
That's why I asked some people.
Yeah, the question you threw out was, you said, were you disappointed, and what even is the definition of DLC in 2021? So like we got a range of responses to this, which I liked, because I think, I think the way you phrased it, definitely, like, I kind of reacted. I'm like, well, yeah, it's DLC. Of course it is. What else would you fucking call it? But that doesn't mean that it's, like, satisfying, right? Like, I would certainly say that this is downloadable content, literally. But, like, when they were like, oh, we're sorry that we fucked up this game launch, we're going to give you some free DLC, I think I was probably expecting a little bit more than this. But let's hear some...
Yeah, okay, well, let's step back a second then. Like, what was your impression when they said it? My impression was, like, we're going to give you some free DLC. It was, we're maybe going to get another quest. We're going to get some extra content for, like, story. And if this had the online multiplayer mode that was rumored, I could understand some of this stuff, like getting another car, getting an outfit that other people in the world can see, and all of that stuff I could understand. But when it's a single player game, it just makes no sense to me. And the snark in that video, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, where he was like talking shit about the things. Like, he's like, I hate the color of the car, and you can't change the color of the car. And he's like, Johnny looks like a poser. And I'm like, you're not selling me on these as free things that I should want.
Yeah, I don't care about any of these things. And the line that got me was like, patching a game that's already released is like performing open heart surgery. And I'm just like, okay.
First of all, is it? Like, is it though? I'm not a developer, but like, doesn't every game get patched now? Like, that feels like par for the course. Second of all, more importantly, maybe don't release the game when it's not done.
Right, we're 8 months after its release, and we're only finally sealing the lid.
And it was on sale for $10 last week.
Should have been. Was it really?
It was. At least in the States, yeah. GameStop was selling it for like $10. Matt Murphy, one of our Patreon supporters, has been wanting to pick it up, and he keeps messaging me when it's on sale, and he's like, "Is this worth it yet?" And he hit me up like a week or two ago, and he's like, $30. Should I get it? And I was like, nah, I would wait.
I'd have gotten the refund.
And then when it was 10, I was like, yo, all right, $10 I think is all right. You could spend $10 on this. And he added it to his cart and then forgot to buy it. So he's still waiting on that. So yeah, but we got some people who wrote in with some takes. So let's hear from some of them. So this one comes from your dad.
It does.
Your dad said he was gonna support us on Patreon, so he could hear me read his name out, you know, like I want to say one of our Patreon supporters, Steve's dad. He said that's a little disingenuous calling a new set of closed DLC. It is, but it's not what gamers expect when they see those 3 letters. And I think that there's truth to that. Like I do think that saying we're going to give you free DLC, our bad, feels like you're promising something significant. Whereas, like, I don't necessarily agree that it's disingenuous to call it DLC, because it literally is that. What else would you call it? But that said, I think
you call it skins, cosmetics. You know, you don't in Fortnite go and buy DLC from the in-game store. You're buying cosmetics. You're buying skins. It feels like maybe we've got past that being the definition of DLC, and that's where my question stemmed from. It's like, is in 2021 this actually DLC? Because yes, you are downloading the content and it's going in the game, but it's really just a free patch, you know? And is this DLC when Nintendo is calling, say, the update to New Pokemon Snap or to Mario Golf a free update, and it's adding content? Why is that not being called a DLC?
I mean, it is.
So that's where my
like I would call that DLC, right?
By Nintendo, I would call it DLC too. I guess maybe I consider DLC paid, and maybe that's part of what I consider the definition to be as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it. Well, here, I'll read another comment here. This one came from Yarno, a.k.a. Olaf, from the Discord, who wrote in and said, DLC is, if you take it very literally, just an item in a game, since it's something new that you can download. However, if it's good for a game, that's a whole different question. And in my opinion, that answer is no. A DLC is good for a game if, in my opinion, it includes a substantial amount of content, like a new quest chain, etc. It doesn't need to include brand new locations. However, the point of DLC is getting people back in the game. And to do that, you need more than just outfits and a new car. The best types of DLC are the types that continue the existing story in a way people can explore new parts of the game. And I think that does make sense. But I think there's a counterpoint, not necessarily even a counterpoint, but another perspective I want to pull in here from Chris, who's at Dude Drakes on Twitter, who wrote in and said, for me, what DLC means is contextual. It does state free DLC, which implies to me that I won't be getting much. No DLC ever worth having is ever quote-unquote free. You either have to pay individually or by season pass, subscribe, or grind for it. See, that I don't necessarily agree with, because we just outlined the example of like Pokemon Snap, of Mario Golf. Those are free updates that came to the game that added a substantial amount of content that weren't paid, that didn't require you to grind, didn't require a season pass, no subscription. They're just free updates to the game. And I think in the context of how this free DLC was kind of pitched to us back in the aftermath of the drama of Cyberpunk, I think that is probably what people were expecting. Whether it was right for them to expect that, I think is up for debate, but I think that CD Projekt Red probably should have done more to manage expectations. Because when you say free DLC,
I feel that they should have outlined there and then what these were going to be. Like, you don't necessarily have to show us what they're going to be, but it's going to be a new vehicle, it's going to be an alternative look for Johnny, and there's going to be some new clothing items. You haven't got to say what they are, but I really it just irked me. It really rubbed me the wrong way, because I don't know what I was expecting. but it was definitely more than what they have delivered.
Yeah, and I think it's like, to me, I wasn't necessarily expecting like free story DLC or something like that, but like, I don't know, maybe like a new base, right? Or a new game mode, like there's a horde mode, right? Where you can go in this arena and fight and get gear. Like, I don't know, like there are things that I can think of that other games have that you could offer as free DLC where I'd be like, yeah, sure, cool. Right? Or maybe the multiplayer mode, some of those things that you outlined. But it's like, they're probably nowhere near being able to add something like that. They've been fixing the game for the last 8 months. You know? They didn't have time to make new free content. They're too busy fixing the stuff that you already paid for. So there's another comment that I think echoes some of your statements. This one came from DigDugXD, who wrote in and said, I think they need to be clearer about this kind of thing. Calling it DLC brings up and builds expectations. Calling it free cosmetics doesn't. And you made that point.
Yeah, and that for me, and this is why I asked the question, like, what is the definition of DLC in 2021? I really think maybe part of the problem is we use DLC as a global term, and there is two kind of aspects to that. Traditionally, it was cosmetics or in-game items that you would buy, which I guess these things would fall under. And then the alternative to that was like a story expansion. It's like an expansion, which Sony is seemingly calling director's cuts these days.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Everybody has a
be
different
the
name
difference.
for it now.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think all these things are in theory the same thing, right? Like, the skins that you're talking about or whatever in Fortnite or whatever, like, those are DLC, but, like, you call them skins or whatever because that's the language that's preferred by games as a service, free-to-play type games, right?
Because
Like,
I guess technically you're not going out of the game to download those. They're already in the build of the game you've got. And I guess maybe that depends how this is delivered as well. Like, is this delivered as an update where these items are just free and they're available for everyone? Or do I have to go onto the Xbox store and acquire these for free? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's not even a reason to call it DLC or not call it DLC, because you're considering, like, if you read Affy's comment next, then you, I think we're considering the Pokemon Snap stuff as DLC.
yeah, so Affy, another one of our Patreon supporters, wrote in and said, I mean, I don't think it's DLC, just a free update. DLC is usually a little more substantial. New Pokemon Snap, as a comparison, got a new content update recently with new stages and Pokemon, but the Pokemon company didn't call it DLC. So maybe DLC is now bigger content packs, like what you would see in a season pass. I think DLC and free content updates are definitely getting confused with each other. And that's the thing, is I don't think they are, right? Like, I think the way that, like, Affy's breaking it down is, like, there's no science to that. Like, that's just what Affy is interpreting those things are, right? Like, if you go back to 2011, I remember there was that controversial piece of DLC for Skyrim where it was like, you can download horse armor for $1 or whatever it was, right? And it's like, I mean, that's DLC. Like, whether you want
it was like $5. It was the most expensive single item that you could buy. It was stupid.
Sure. But like, that's the thing.
10.
Well, that's the thing though, right? Is like, I think that every person can make that distinction for themselves where it's like, oh, it's a free update. That's not the same thing. Like, it is though, right? Like, at least in my opinion, like downloadable content is any content that wasn't in the base game that you got and downloaded. But like, I don't know, right? Like, are you going to argue that like updates that come to a game that like if I buy Pokemon Snap now, I would know that's
not DLC to you because you downloaded that game day one. If you bought that digitally, it's coming with the content in there.
Right.
That's not technically that. Is that technically then DLC, or is it something that's delivered separately? Which is what I was saying.
Sure.
It's like, is the base game, and then I go and I acquire these separate items if I want them.
Right.
Because that's what I would do. That's what I would do. Say with Ghost of Tsushima, I could buy the base game. If I'm playing on PS4, then I can buy like the upgrade to the director's cut, which comes with the expansion for the game. I don't know what Sony's naming system is for DLC and expansion passes or season passes or whatever. Season pass seems to be one that Nintendo uses, which I think they lifted from Fortnite. They seem to be the one that.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, the season pass is something that predates Fortnite. You know, like that was a thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember that. It was like, oh, there's season 1 to this game, season 2 to this game. I think Fallout 4, I know, used like the season pass terminology as well.
Like Far Cry 5, I remember had a season pass and
Mm.
like it was like, oh, these are DLC plans, right? Like this is our roadmap for DLC. So yeah, I don't know. Like I guess it's interesting, right? Because Avi makes the point of like the Pokemon Snap thing, right? Is like they didn't call it DLC, like that's just something that you get now. So it's like, I don't know, because like you could also like point to like Mass Effect, right? Like I was talking about earlier how I played through one of the packs that was originally DLC for Mass Effect 3, right? But if you buy Mass Effect the Legendary Edition now, all of that stuff that was DLC is just packaged in with the game, but it's not technically part of the main story. Like,
But I think they word that as includes the three games and all downloadable content.
right,
And you get that quite often, like the Game of the Year editions
Right.
comes with the games and all of the downloadable content. Because I got that with, you got that with the Skyrim remaster.
right.
It came with the expansions that were the downloadable content.
And the reason I bring that up is like, so then would you make the argument that any content that comes to a game post launch is downloadable content?
And I don't think I would. I really don't think I would.
So where do you draw the line?
I think for me, it's something that's delivered separately and is substantial more than just cosmetic. For me personally.
But do you have to pay for it? Because
usually, yes, I would say so.
Because that's the thing, right? Is like, because what you just described is the Pokemon Snap update, but that's free. So why isn't that downloadable content? Because of the money?
I don't know. And why was like would you consider adding the online multiplayer mode to Mario Party, Super Mario Party downloadable content as opposed to an update? Because that's really patching in a feature. Is that downloadable content? Because I don't think it is.
Yeah, I would say that's a free update.
Yeah, but why? Yeah. Why is that a free update? Is it because it didn't add content to the game? It's just a new feature to the game. Whereas if that brought new mini games or another new board, then I guess maybe you would consider that DLC.
I don't know. Now, the more we talk about it, the more confusing it is, I think. Because right. So, like, to take it back, Affy, thanks for writing in, because I'm getting a lot of mileage out of this comment. So, like Affy said, so maybe DLC is now bigger content packs like what you would see in a season pass. That's what the Pokemon update was. That's what
I think it is.
But that's what the Pokemon update was. So then...
Yeah, but I think you've got to pay for it. I genuinely think DLC is... personally, I think DLC is paid for. And then when they say it's free DLC, then, it's...
Okay, fine. So then what if they were charging for this car and this skin?
I think there would be outrage, personally. I don't
Take
think
that out of
it.
Say they're charging for these. Is that downloadable content? If you have to pay for it.
Well, I don't know, because I'm paying for... It depends where I'm getting them from, I think. I don't know, because I'm paying for skins in Fortnite, and I don't consider that DLC.
It's
already there.
Say that this is how it works. I get to the front page of the Cyberpunk game, and you go to add-ons or additions or extras or whatever, and then there's that button that takes you to the Microsoft store and shows you all the DLC, and for a fucking $1.50 or whatever, I can buy Johnny's alternate outfit. Is that downloadable content?
I think it is then, yeah. Which is the same kind of way that Resident Evil did it, for you could buy like Claire's original jacket outfit for Resident Evil 2 and things like that. But I think when it's free and it's just additional shit added into the game,
that's a free content update.
DLC. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I don't
my
know.
Personal definition of it.
That feels wrong to me, but I can't argue why. Like, because it's like, I don't, like, what's actually materially the difference? The fact that you paid money, that doesn't change that it's downloadable additional content, So it feels weird to me to make that distinction based on investment.
But it's more than it's automatically available. Say the free DLC you get with Animal Crossing if you are a member of Switch Online, that horrible rug that no one wants and just goes in the bin.
Sure.
That's DLC, but you don't pay for it, but it's not in the game automatically. You have to go and do a task to acquire it and download it. So maybe that's the difference.
That's the line, is you think it's something that you have to go out of your way to download?
Yeah, because if it's already there, if it's just a free update and it's like, here's an update. Because like, is it DLC when Sony, or Sony or Microsoft go, right, this game's now in 4K.
Patches of 60
It's not
FPS,
DLC,
right?
Just a patch.
Yeah, but I feel like that's different because that's adding like feature level things or updating features,
Like the multiplayer thing,
right? Versus this is content that wasn't in the game before, now it is. And I think that you're right, like, to bring up the multiplayer games, because like with a multiplayer game, like a game as a service, like a live service game, you expect that the game's going to update and be a living, breathing thing that gets new content all the time. Like that's how those games work. Whereas with like a single player game, like that's not the expectation.
Okay, I've got one for you.
Okay.
Animal Crossing New Horizon. Do you consider, say, the addition of swimming and things like that came after the fact, Leaf coming into the game? That's not DLC.
No.
You can't think of those as DLC. But how is that any different to what new Pokemon Snap has got? It's added new content. It's added new features. You know, we got Leaf, we got Red, we got Swimming, and they were all free updates. But no one said, "Oh, there's new DLC coming to Animal Crossing." No one said that. And there's talk about DLC.
Did no
which
one
is a
say that
paid
though?
expansion. Well, I don't think anyone I know said it. I don't think anyone I know considered it to be DLC.
I'm Googling Animal
looking
Crossing
up, like-
DLC now just to see what comes up.
But it's probably just going to be the rumors of like, oh, Doug Bowser said there's going to be some paid DLC for the game.
So if you go to Nintendo has a website like page for Animal Crossing New Horizons downloadable content, and the only thing is the fucking rug.
Yeah, and that's all they consider to be DLC because it's delivered separately. It's not an update.
Okay.
That rug is so horrible.
See, but then you I don't know. It's so interesting because I'm looking at this wiki, and it has a list of DLC by major updates, and it's every single event that has come. Huh.
I don't think we can consider like Egg Day or whatever it was called. DLC.
Here's the question though, okay? And I'll throw this last wrinkle in it. How did, like, you still downloaded it? Like, you had to download an update.
Yeah,
if you buy the game,
do you then consider a day one patch DLC?
No,
That's just
I wouldn't.
fixing what's there. You know, you wouldn't consider the Cyberpunk patch 1.23 that came out that's fixed a load of shit.
That's different though. That's not content. That's a patch. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. I think that comes back to the argument we're having about the features thing. Adding or fixing bugs or features is not the same as adding new content to the game.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And it's only in single player games. Because like Fortnite updates all the time, Destiny updates all the time. No one really considers those as DLC. I mean, Destiny does have expansions and they call them expansions, and those are. I mean, are they DLC because you have to download them? The whole game updates.
I think that's
can't
the
access
thing.
The content unless you pay.
It feels like a jacuzzi hot tub thing, where like all of these things are DLC, but they're not all each other, right? Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't consider a patch or like a feature update as downloadable content, but I think you could argue that like cosmetic updates, expansions, you know, season pass, any of those kinds of things, I think you could argue are all DLC, but they're different types of DLC. Because to the point that I think we're like arguing, right? Like, or debating, I guess, because, you know, I don't feel like we're at odds on this. We're just trying to sift through the wreckage of this
figure
question.
out what the hell it means. Yeah.
I feel like when you say free update, cosmetic update, expansion pass, like expanded whatever, any of those things, like they mean something more specific, and you can zero in what the difference is between that and one of the other things that we talked about. But I feel like they all kind of fall under the umbrella of DLC, because if you came to me and were like, oh, like Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima is getting an expansion, right? I'd be like, oh, that probably means a new story, right? Like that means like new story content if it's getting an expansion. Whereas if you said, oh, Ghost of Tsushima is getting some DLC, I'd be like, oh, cool. Like what kind? Like,
I don't think you would have. I think if I'd have said Ghost of Tsushima is getting some DLC, it'd have been like, oh, new story. Your mind would have instantly gone there.
I think I would because of what kind of game it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And that's the kind of game that Cyberpunk is meant to be.
Sure.
It's a story-driven single-player game. They said there's free DLC coming. I think that's what people were expecting.
I'll say this, and this is an interesting wrinkle in this conversation. Earlier today, I talked about the updates to Mario Golf. And what did I write on our document for what I had played this week? Mario Golf DLC.
Did you see the topic of the question?
Did.
Is that what this
I
was?
wrote it independent of that.
Okay, well, that's interesting. That is interesting. But that's more substantial. That's a new mode you got. Not new. Well, you got a new map and you got a new character.
Yeah.
So it's like that's more than
that's a significant addition.
Would you have considered it if Pauline got an alternative appearance as? Oh, I've checked
like
out
an alternate
DLC.
skin. Like I don't know. Like
yeah.
It's tough to say because like I think I would still consider that new DLC because I think about how like there's that thing where if you do the ranked, like you can unlock that new Yoshi skin, right? Like
oh yeah,
that's technically DLC, I guess. I don't know. It gets murky. I'm gonna tell you that. So here's another one. This comes from Ray, another member of the community. Shout out to Ray for doing the Nintendo Noise background art. Ray is a true G. Ray wrote in and said, I wasn't disappointed, but I wasn't expecting much of anything. It's still DLC, though. The definition of DLC in 2021 is the same as it's always been. If it's content you can obtain by downloading, it's downloadable content.
No, and I had this out with Ray, just 101, and I was like, I said that's the dictionary definition of what downloadable content is. You take each separate word, downloadable and content, then yes. But like we've established in our conversation, it's not that straightforward, I don't think. Because I don't think anyone, including yourself, considers the stuff that came to Animal Crossing as DLC. As Earth Day or Egg Day or...
I think I would probably call
fireworks.
those free updates rather than DLC. I think I would.
But that was something you downloaded. So technically...
But my thing is, if somebody was like, "Oh, I haven't gotten back into Animal Crossing since they added DLC,"
all this DLC. Oh, I don't. Yeah, you'd know what they were talking about.
You would, and I don't think you would clock that. I don't think you'd be like, "Oh, what? There's no DLC in Animal Crossing." You'd be like, "Oh, they mean the updates."
But if you're there with two people. If, like, say there's you who knows everything about Animal Crossing, someone else is like, oh, I've got back into the game since they've added all this DLC, and someone else who's not played Animal Crossing since day one, it's like, really? They've like brought out some like expansion pass or some season pass or something. I think that's where people's brains go when they hear DLC. I really do. I think they think it costs money, and it includes a substantial amount of content.
Interesting. So there's another comment here. This one comes from Stressa, who wrote in and said, I have no investment in CD Projekt Red, but to me, DLC is something you add yourself. What Nintendo does with their games like Snap, Tennis, Golf, and Animal Crossing is more like an update to the game. I think Nintendo even calls it a free update and not DLC.
They do. And this is what we were talking about. So the only DLC that they've got listed for Animal Crossing is that rug, because it's something you add yourself. And the rest of it is just, it's a free update. It's coming to the game. But that's the way Nintendo word it. Other companies probably word it differently.
You know what's maybe an interesting distinction too is that like DLC, I think is something that is additive. Like you don't need it. Like I bring up the Mass Effect stuff, right? Like in Mass Effect 2, for example, I was talking about it a couple weeks ago about how there's a point of no return in the game, basically, where like once you do a certain mission, you have like X number of missions that you can do before it'll trigger the last mission, and it doesn't count the DLC missions as regular missions, right? Like if you just never engage with any of that stuff, it doesn't really impact the game. But if you do engage with it, it does impact the game. And like I feel like Ghost is like that too, right? Like you can play just through the 3 chapters of Ghost, but the Island of Iki expansion is you can play it after you finish chapter 1. And it's like this additional 0.5 thing that's there, but it's like, if you didn't do that, it doesn't affect the narrative at all.
There's got to be some examples, and if anyone can think of them, write in and let us know. But there's got to be examples of more integrated DLC than that. And I'm sure I've played some. But things where it's not linear, like DLC to, say, a Bethesda game, I feel like that's a little bit more impactful. But again, those are always optional quests. You don't necessarily have to go and do them.
Sure. So this is the last comment we'll read on the subject, and then we can land the plane here. This one came from Asobi, who wrote in and said, "Are people actually mad at free stuff? What did y'all expect when they literally said that 2021 would be focused on fixing the game before releasing major DLC?" And I think, for starters, it's the internet and it's gamers.
That's what I said.
So, yeah, people are actually mad about free stuff. Of course they are. That being said, I don't think it's that egregious.
Someone replied to Asobi's comment, which was something like, I can't remember who it was. It was something like, I think people are actually mad that they've realized it's 8 months after the game's released and it's still not finished. I think that's what actually people really are mad about.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think if this game had come out and landed well and didn't have a bunch of controversy and was a game that was universally adored, and then they were like, hey, we're adding some free DLC, and it was this kind of thing, you'd be like, oh, cool, whatever. I think the reason that it's a controversy is that the game came out, it didn't run for 30% of the people that tried to play it, and
Sony took it down from the store, and it
still
only just
not
went
there.
Up 2 months ago. No, it's gone back up.
Oh, it got back up. Okay.
Fat warning.
So yeah, I think for me, it's it boils down to the fact that people are like, wow, in 8 months, this is all you have for me. And that you made a big thing about how we're so sorry, we're going to give you free stuff. And I think people feel burned by this game. And the fact that they poked their head out of the rabbit hole to be like, look, we have free stuff. Everyone's like, no, fuck you. That's all you have for me?
They didn't even do it like that. They did it in the same way the marketing for all of this game's been done, which is snarky, self-deprecating, oh, you don't want any of this crap. You can't even change the color of the car. Look how rubbish this is. Oh, Johnny's such a poser. Why do it that way when you know that people are just going to backlash against this? There's no way anyone in the PR or marketing department saw what they considered the free DLC to be and just thought, yeah, this is going to go down a treat.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes down. I don't necessarily fault people on either side of that conversation, right? I don't think it's right to, you shouldn't see this and go yell at CD Projekt Red or, send death threats or any of that kind of stuff, right? That's never appropriate. It's video games. You shouldn't overreact to this kind of thing in general. That being said, I don't blame anybody who feels burned by this game, who feels burned by CD Projekt Red, who was expecting more. Not because it was necessarily realistic to get more, but because they hyped this game up. They were the ones who put this game on a pedestal, and the fact that it didn't deliver, they are going to have to carry that baggage for a while. And I feel bad for the developers who have worked and crunched and busted their butts to make this game. I don't feel bad for CD Projekt Red for over-promising, under-delivering, promising to make up for it, and then under-delivering on that again. That's, at this point, you've made your bed, lie in it, Yeah,
and I don't think they even needed to make the whole free DLC thing. They didn't have to make that commitment. I think if they just give a timeline to say the game's going to be fixed. In the meantime, I feel like they could have just given everyone a copy of The Witcher 3 and everyone would have been happy.
They can't do that. That's a good game. They got to keep selling that one.
Yeah, fair point. But yeah, I enjoyed this question style thing, and I don't feel like we got any closer to figuring out what the definition of DLC actually is.
The journey's the destination, man.
Every single person.
It's all about the dialogue, okay? We don't need to find the answer. We need to just have the conversation. That's what's really important. Any question worth asking doesn't have a clear answer. That's what I'll say. I'll leave it on that note. So thank you to everybody who wrote in as part of our question block segment this week. This was real fun. Maybe this is something we'll try to do again in the future. Kind of throw out a question to the community and source some answers and kind of talk through it. If y'all liked it, let us know. If you didn't like this, if you'd rather us, I don't know, like hear less from the community. I can't imagine anyone feels that way. But yeah, let us know. Give us the feedback. If you dug this, we'll do more of it. If you didn't, we'll try something else next week. So yeah, thanks for everyone who wrote in and was a part of it. And if you didn't write in, but you've now listened to this episode and you have some thoughts, write in and let us know what you think. Where do you draw the line between DLC, free updates, cosmetics, all these things, right? Where do you see that playing out? And how do you feel about this whole CD Projekt Red thing? I'd be interested to hear some more takes on it. Because we got a pretty wide range of responses today, which I think speaks to the fact that it's not super cut and dry. So yeah, thanks again everyone who wrote in. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, you can come join our Discord. You can write into us at questions@flipscreen.games. You can follow us on social media at FlipScreenGames. And yeah, get us wherever you can. Hit us in the comments down below if you're on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell so you see these videos whenever they go live on Mondays and Wednesdays. If you want to get some more content, remember you can head over to patreon.com/FlipScreenGames, where for just $2 you can get access to one more thing, where Steve and I talked about my crazy weekend and how it landed me sick in bed playing Mass Effect 3 on a Monday. So go check that out. It was a good time. And thank you so much to our Patreon producers for the month of August. That's, of course, that Doc Guy, Zayd Ida, and Wakahula. Thank you all for your support. And I hope the rest of you will support us however you can. Come join the community. Come be a part of what we're building here. It's been a great couple first weeks, and I'm glad to have you with us. So until next time, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. We've been Flip Screen Games. We'll catch you next week.